In this video, I'm going to be going over the new texture generation and texture preview features in Retro Diffusion. So the first thing you're going to see is I've got this document open and it's got some stuff in it. We'll ignore most of that for now, but this is kind of just to show off the texture preview tool here. And this, it basically just does what I said, what it's called. It has a preview of a texture, and it adds some maps to it. In this case, the maps that are shown down here below the texture. So we've got this, I will hide these for now. We've got this wood texture here, and then underneath it we have a normal map, a roughness map, and a depth map. And those are just some standard map formats used in photorealistic rendering, and they affect how this texture looks. So the depth map changes kind of the height of the points in the image. The normal map affects how lighting works on it. So here you can see that these points are reflecting light even though the rest of it isn't. And the roughness map also affects how light interacts with the surface, how much it scatters, and how much of it gets, just reflected back at the right angle. So here inside this little preview, we've got a few different options. You can see that, I can spin this texture around and look at it from different angles. I also have this normalized depth thing, and that basically just tells it, hey, take whatever the extremes of the texture are and make that the minimum and maximum. This can be really helpful if, like in this example, the depth map of the texture kind of sticks around a middle gray, like 50% gray, instead of having, black and white areas. It just helps to sort of show off that displacement a bit better. There is also a anti-alias setting. This just changes kind of how that texture is displayed. Makes it a little smoother, less jarring transitions. I prefer personally to have this kind of view, but it's obviously that's just preference. There's also this depth scale, and that changes how the depth map is applied to the image. You can have it apply more, or you can even have it, apply in a negative way, so the inverse of whatever the depth map is. In addition, there's also the advanced view, and this just tells you the pitch and roll of this plane as you're moving it around, and then also the FPS that the display is running at. It also shows you these little images down here, which are those, the texture, the normal, the roughness, and the depth maps. And then it also has these little directional lines telling you the direction of that surface. So in this case, let's focus on this little bottom one. So this little red line right here is telling you the direction that this surface is pointing in. So if I make this depth map more extreme, you can see that that starts to point inwards. And this is just helpful for debugging how the texture is displaying and making sure that everything is pointing where it's supposed to. You've also got this option to change the background color. This can just be helpful, if you've got a texture that's sort of similar to the default background. It's really nice to just be able to modify it there, so you don't have to deal with that. All right, that's pretty much it for the texture preview window itself. The way that you want to structure these texture files inside an image is like this. So obviously you've got the color texture. So that's like this picture of the wood texture here. It's color, that's the colors you're displaying. Then you've got the normal map, which is this map here, and that tells you how the light interacts with the surface. The roughness map, and then also the depth map. Those do need to be named exactly these things. If they're not named that, they won't be detected properly, so just make sure of that. And then also in Retro Diffusion, you can actually just directly generate textures. So let's show off an example of that. We'll move over to this pre-made oak log texture here, and As you can see, you actually get a warning that it doesn't detect a normal map, a roughness map, or a depth map. It can't find them. It also tells you the name of the active layer. So what we can do is we can go to Sprite, generate textures. We have a few different settings for texture generation. We have the tiling setting with, it just tells you what kind of tiling you're using. In this case, we'll go with seamless. So that means that all of the borders will line up with each other. So this border will, be the same as this one. This border will be the same as this one. You can also have a mirror where this border will be the same as this border. And you can have extend where it takes this border and kind of extends it out a bit. So it basically pads the edge of the image so that you have a smoother transition. Like I said, we're going to go with seamless, and we're just going to click OK here. And it just real quickly, probably missed that pop-up, real quickly just generated those materials. It took less than a second to create all of these textures. And now you can see in the preview window here, we actually have, that wood texture. And it was just created automatically. And it created all the layers that it needed automatically as well. If we take a look at these, you can see the normal map looks pretty good. The roughness map and the depth map. Yeah, we can also actually go to generate textures. And if we select this texture layer again, you can choose mirror, and it'll create a new set of textures, and it'll overwrite those old ones. And you can see it's slightly different than before. We can do that again and generate with the extend. And again, you can see it's a little bit different. So each of the texture tiling methods is going to look a little bit different between them. And which one you use just depends on how you're going to be using this texture in a game or in a 3D render or something like that. I'll go back to seamless because that's how this texture is intended to be used. So you can just see that, it looks pretty much like it should. We can actually go over to these stone bricks here, and we can generate a texture for these as well. So if I go here, generate textures, seamless, boom, done. And you can tell that it kind of grabbed where those highlights are, and it knows exactly how to make that depth map for the image. You can also, of course, just go in and directly edit these textures. So maybe I want these bricks to be a little bit more square. So I'm going to go to this depth map. I'm going to grab this color here and push that brick out like that. Maybe I want to do the same kind of with these over here. Right, so now I've got those bricks are more prominent, and then I want to do the same up here to this row of bricks. There, so I've just edited this texture on my own, and now you can see that it's a little bit more prominent. Yeah, so this texture preview combined with the ability to automatically generate textures makes creating textures for games really, really easy, especially with how quick this is. And you can actually just string together, whole rows of textures and generate them all at once, and it's super fast. Hopefully this helps you create some textures for your games pretty quick. If you have any questions about it or any features that you want me to add to it, just let me know.